You know that feeling when you are finally on track? The diet is going great. The big project is almost finished. You're happy in your relationship. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, you grab the steering wheel and swerve right off the road. You procrastinate until the deadline explodes. You start a petty fight for no reason. It's the ultimate form of self-sabotage, and it feels like there is this secret, destructive part of you that actively hates your success. For a long time, we just called that self-discipline failure, or maybe just having a weak mind. But what if it's not a weakness at all? What if it's simply the most powerful and yet most neglected part of your personality finally demanding attention? This isn't about being lazy. This is about your shadow self calling the shots. Psychologists, especially Carl Jung, spent decades identifying this phenomenon. The shadow self is the psychic dustbin. Everything you deemed ugly, unacceptable, or shameful about yourself gets thrown in there. Your repressed anger, your true insecurities, the desires that society told you were bad. We lock it away, thinking we've killed it. But the shadow doesn't die. It just gets stronger in the dark. And when the shadow feels ignored, it doesn't send an email. It takes over your operating system, turning small anxieties into massive destructive behaviors. It's your inner critic, amplified to a scream. Here are 5 undeniable signs that your shadow self is running your life, and more importantly, how you can actually start the integration process. First sign, massive disproportionate projection. This is the easiest one to spot. You hate that one specific coworker, right? Not because they're doing anything truly evil, but because they chew too loud, or they're too competitive, or they're too overly confident. When you feel intense, explosive hatred for a minor flaw in someone else, especially someone you barely know, that is almost always your shadow showing you what you have refused to own about yourself. Jung said that everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The thing you despise in them is the repressed thing you fear about yourself. Second sign, you are addicted to self-sabotage right before the finish line. This is the classic behavior. You're about to get the promotion, so you start showing up late. You're finally secure in your relationship, so you start stirring up drama. The shadow self thrives on the familiar pain of failure because failure confirms the core belief it holds. You are not worthy of happiness. Success means stepping into the unknown, and the shadow, which prioritizes safety over joy, will burn the bridge to keep you stuck in the miserable but predictable past. Third sign, chronic emotional overreaction and instant road rage. We're talking about going from 0 to 60 because someone cut you off in traffic or your roommate used your specific coffee mug. When a tiny inconvenience triggers monumental rage, that is bottled up pain and anger, finding the path of least resistance. The shadow's overloaded with unexpressed emotion. Maybe you're furious at your boss or your parents, but you can't express it. The shadow doesn't care about nuance. It just needs to erupt, and the barista who messed up your order is just the nearest volcanic vent. Fourth sign, the fake nice persona, or chronic people-pleasing fueled by resentment. This is the shadow wearing a disguise. You say yes to every request, you overperform politeness, you're the perfect friend, the perfect employee. But inside, you are seething with silent resentment, feeling completely unseen and used. This perfectionistic mask is hiding the part of your shadow that is deeply angry, that needs boundaries, and that fundamentally wants to tell everyone, "No, I actually hate this, and I hate you for asking." The shadow keeps you performing the nice role because the truth feels too dangerous. And the fifth sign, a desperate need for constant distraction. If the idea of sitting in silence for 10 minutes makes your skin crawl, your shadow is probably screaming. We use scrolling, binge-watching, or busy work to keep the noise down, because when we stop, the unconscious material floods the conscious mind. The shadow holds the uncomfortable truths, and avoiding quiet is the guaranteed way to ensure that you never have to face the parts of yourself that need healing. So what do? You don't fight the shadow. You don't try to banish it. That only makes it more cunning. You have to integrate it. The goal is not to become a perfect light being. The goal is to become whole. Integration starts with acknowledgement. When you catch yourself projecting, self-sabotaging, or raging, stop and ask the pivotal question. What is the positive intent of this destructive behavior? The shadow acts like a frightened, misunderstood child. It believes it is protecting you, even if it's protecting you from the risk of happiness. When you self-sabotage, the shadow is trying to protect you from the pain of high-stakes failure. Start small. Write down the traits you hate most about yourself and others. Then, instead of judging them, ask, how have these traits ever served me? Maybe your suppressed anger is actually powerful assertiveness waiting to be channeled. Maybe the arrogance you hate is the confidence you need. Don't just tolerate your darker feelings, integrate them into a complete picture of who you are. Because true power isn't about ignoring the dark, it's about holding both the light and the dark and saying, this is all me. Take 5 minutes today to sit in silence. Stop the scrolling, stop the noise. Let the unpleasant thoughts come up, write them down, and simply observe them without judgment. That is the first step to freeing yourself from the manipulation of your own subconscious. If this resonated, hit subscribe. We'll keep diving into the strange science behind why we do what we do.